Hi everyone, how are we today? Today is February the 25th, 2020, and I cannot believe it has been 2 months since Christmas. It's unbelievable. So how's everybody doing today? We were going to talk about Heart Month this month. I was wondering what everybody else would like to talk about today. I want you to know that this is not a private page like a group is. If you are in COPD, Exercise to Healthy Living, you are in a private group. And the only people who can see your comments and your anything that you have to say in the group are people who belong to the group. So if you are not, if you are in this group, which is Catch Your Breath 60, is just an open page on Facebook. And I want you to know that everybody can see and hear and read your comments, okay? So if you have something that's really private and you don't want other people to know, please don't say it here. You can always reach me at catchyourbreath60.com or catchyourbreath60@gmail.com, or on this Facebook page you can send me a private message. So I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable about what they're saying today or what's going on in Catch Your Breath 60. So my name is Barbara Moore, and I developed COPD about 4 years ago as I was embarking on my 60th birthday. And my COPD did not come on suddenly. My COPD came on very, very gradually. And I had had symptoms for about 8 to 10 years. I was a smoker, a pack-a-day smoker, and I probably smoked for about 50 years, like many of us did. It was the times, and it was extremely acceptable until it wasn't. And so I should have known that something was going on, and I didn't. Hi, Tammy. How are you, hon? It's nice of you to join us today. Hi, Elaine. So I was, I should have known that something was going on, but I, like a lot of us, tried to deny the symptoms of COPD. And so that made my COPD much worse than it actually had to be. And because I absolutely refused to smoke or to stop smoking, and I absolutely refused to acknowledge that there was something wrong with me. And I think a lot of us are like that. Once I was diagnosed with COPD, of course, I quit smoking right away. And my daughter and I were trying to figure out how I was going to transition from... Oh, it's Mardi Gras in Louisiana. Very nice, Lori. I hope you have a great time. Hi, Mary. So my daughter and I were trying to figure out how I would transition from my work life, which was very, very busy. I was a business instructor for a community college, and I also ran a small bookkeeping business on the side. And so having lived a very busy life, I didn't want to transition from that just to actually doing nothing. And I knew that the days of me running back and forth around companies and going in and out of work every day were probably limited, and they did become very limited. I lasted about a year and a half before I finally had to give up the ghost on the job and on my business. And so I've transitioned nicely now, and one of the things that we tried to do at the very beginning was to come up with a name for what I would stand for. And of course, one of the catchphrases that we often say, it's "let me stop and catch my breath." And so Catch Your Breath 60 was born. It was born in my 60th year. And I have done numerous posts, many blog posts. I write for a few magazines and a few sites. And so I keep myself very, very busy. I also still run a small bookkeeping business. The difference is that people have to come to me now. I don't go to them. So it's a little bit different, right? So February is Heart Month. And we were talking about all things heart related. The last couple of posts, I wanted to just end up with that today because February is Heart Month, and of course this is the last tea time of February. Hi Shirley, nice of you to join us today. So one of the things that we have to be aware of is how our heart is acting, and if you have a pulmonary specialist, he should be looking into, and I'm sure that everybody has had the test to see how your heart, because your heart and your lungs are so close together and part of the cardiovascular system, that we see more people with COPD that have heart failure. And so we have to be careful of that and be conscious of what is happening as we embark in our journey with COPD. What happens with COPD is that when your lungs are strained and you're not getting enough oxygen, sometimes what will happen is that that lack of oxygen will then put strain on the heart. And when the heart has strain, it goes into what we call heart failure. It can't keep up with the stress of your lungs being so compromised. And so, hi Cynthia, thank you for joining us today. And so we sometimes don't realize how serious this can be. And in fact, it is caused by COPD. But one of the things is that heart failure is far more serious than COPD is. We know that people have COPD, and if anybody follows Derek Cummings, I think he is a huge, well, I know he's a huge advocate for those of us with COPD. And he also has lived with it for a good 35 years. So one of the things that my doctor said to me when I had COPD was, or when I was diagnosed with COPD, was, listen, you don't die from this, so you got to start learning to live with it. And with that comment, I was promptly plunked into respiratory rehab, which many of us have gone to. I went in kicking and screaming and saying to my daughter, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't think I'm well enough. And of course I was. And I had a great time in rest rehab. And anybody with COPD should actually be looking to go to rest rehab. So I attended 4 years ago, and I will be embarking this spring and summer on my second attempt at a different place to go to respiratory rehab. And I'm really excited and looking forward to it. So one of the things that they will teach you is how to pace yourself. And this is one thing that we need to learn with COPD, is how to pace ourselves and how to go just a little bit slower. If you're reading my morning memes that I put up around 10 o'clock every morning, you will see that we're talking about mindfulness, and it is taken from a book on mindfulness that I got for Christmas. And I'm taking excerpts from each page. And what we're talking about mostly there is mindfulness, simplicity, and pacing. So these are the things that we find very, very hard, because most of us are baby boomers. And as baby boomers, most of us started working when we were 14. We came from large families, and everybody had to pitch in. So, myself, I've been working since I was 14, and I have a really hard time pacing myself and slowing down. So these are the things that respiratory rehab will help you with, and I'm really excited to get a second kick at the cat, because what happens when you finish it, everybody's all gung-ho about what they're going to do, but very soon we tend to go back to the way that things were, and we tend to go back to the sins that we committed in the past, right? So I'm very excited to be going back. One of the things that I find, and I'm not sure how to do this, or if anybody's ever had this problem, I do my exercises, but most of what I do is sitting down. So I'll do my upper body, but I'm sitting down. I do my legs and my cardio, but I'm sitting down to do it on a bike. And so what I find is that I have an awful lot of belly fat. Now, we know that some of this is from the steroids and the medications that we have to take in order to keep ourselves well. And we understand that. I think almost everyone that I have spoken to about the weight gain with COPD, most of us have gained 25 to 30 pounds. And it's really funny because I was heavier all my life, never been thin. And when I was first diagnosed, well, my doctor put me on puffers probably. I wasn't diagnosed with COPD, but I was on puffers for many years before my diagnosis. And the doctor gave me the puffers and he said, come back in a month. I want to see you in a month and see how the puffers are doing. When I started to take the puffers, and of course the puffer was Symbicort, so most of us are on Symbicort, or we have been on Symbicort in the past. And I found a great, they helped me a lot. But when I went back to the doctors the next month, and in my doctor's office, it was against the law not to be weighed. As soon as you went in there, you had to every time have your weight taken, which used to drive me crazy because he always yelled at me about, losing weight and quitting smoking. And the two, just don't go hand in hand, right? You got to pick and choose which one you want to do. And when I went back the next month and I had gained 30 pounds, and he never said anything to me, and I thought, well, this is very strange, but he did not ever tell me that this was because of the puffers. So since I've been on the puffers, which has probably been, I'm going to say a good 10 to 12 years, I've been carrying around this 30 pounds and I've never been able to lose it. So a couple of times that I was in the hospital with exacerbations and had to stay over, and they put the vent in and everything. And they put me on massive doses of diuretics. And of course, that takes the weight away. It's just like it melts away, right, when you get these diuretics. But if you're not doing it under the control of a doctor in the hospital, you're doing it on your own, then some really nasty things can happen. So I am on diuretics, and I am on them pretty constantly. And when my doctor and I have tried to figure out what the best dosage is and how we'll do this, and I think we finally got it. But in the process, I lost all of my potassium. Terrible, terrible side effects from losing too much potassium and not replacing it in your body with what you eat or with supplements. So potassium is it was a horrible thing to go through, and it took me about 3 weeks to get that regulated. Now my electrolytes are very low, and the doctor's telling me that that's from not drinking too much enough water. But when I have heart failure, I'm on fluid restrictions, and yet the diuretics are causing me to lower my electrolytes. So we have to find the sweet spot in it, right? I know that we will, because I started on Gatorade this weekend, and lots of salads with tomatoes and lettuce and stuff like that, and that kind of brings your electrolytes back. So I think I'm on the right track, but who knows, right? So I'm left with this 30 pounds of weight that I'm carrying around, which of course doesn't help my breathing. But because I've been heavy all my life, I tend to be able to, it's normal for me, right? And hi, Gwen, how are you today? And so now my concern is this belly fat that I have, and I would really, really like to lose it. Now, I am a member of COPD, Exercise to Healthy Living, and they have a lot of stuff on there. They have stuff every day, and they motivate you and get you going and everything. But the problem with it is that I don't know what I can do about this belly fat. So that's my goal and my mission, to go back to rehab. Gwen, are you thinking of going back to rehab at all? I'm going to be attending the North Hamilton Clinic. Hi, Elaine. Hi, Esther. I'm going to be attending the North Hamilton Clinic sometime in the spring. I haven't heard yet, but I'd love to have you come and join me. Yes, Gatorade helped. I had a couple of doses of Gatorade. I'm not really fussy about it, but hi there, Larissa Dawn. How are you today? I'm not really fussy on that. You know, I'd rather have my cup of tea, but I think that it really did get me right. So, you know, when your electrolytes are low, terrible headaches. You get terrible headaches. And once again, I thought it was my potassium. And the only way that you know for sure is to go and get the blood work done. And the blood work tells all. So one of the other things about these diuretics is that they're very hard on your kidneys, right? So you got to be really careful about, you know, doing the monitoring properly, making sure that you're on top of your blood work, making sure that you're doing what your doctor is telling you, but you're also paying attention to your symptoms so that you can take care of them that way, right? Does anybody else find that they have a lot of belly weight, belly fat? Now, I know that not everybody gains weight, and it's very sad to hear, but a lot of people lose weight when they're diagnosed with COPD. And I was in the hospital with one lady who was extremely thin, extremely thin, and it's not a good thing either because, you know, you have no muscles, right? So it's not, you know, you lose all that. But, you know, some people gain and some people lose. So yep, I hear you, Larissa. She's saying that she just joined when I was mentioning about belly fat, and she was on meds for blood pressure and COPD. Never had a belly before, but now she's got one, and she's 62, and I get it. You know, and some of it is just the natural aging process, right? We are all getting older, and our body is getting, you know, our body is changing, right? And some of that we just can't help. There's nothing that we can do about it. But other times, you know, there is some things that we can do about it. I just haven't found what that thing is yet. Although somebody at my support group, I was talking about it at my support group, and this guy is about 72 years old, I think. And he said to me, you know, you just pull your belly up and you hold it as if it's going against your spine. And so, you know, I started doing that and it kind of worked, eh? So I'm wondering how many times I can do that without blowing a gasket, kind of, right? But I guess that when we're, you know, one of the things for me is that I was always on my feet. When I taught, I was always speaking on my feet. And when you're on your feet, you know, you tend to hold yourself a little bit better than when you're sitting down too much. You're kind of letting all those muscles go, right? So that's my kind of my quirk for today. Oh, Tammy, you're underweight. I know. And I know that, hi, Mona. I know that everybody says, oh, you know, I'd rather be underweight than overweight, but it's not a good thing either, right? I was just talking to somebody this earlier today who was saying that she has to keep taking her stuff in, eh? She has to keep taking her pants in it. She can't afford to, you know, she's on social services, right? And she can't afford to keep buying new clothes all the time, right? So I understand that. And yes, you're right, Lori. Some of it is bloating that seems to be regular. When we are feeling bloated, this is when we need to start talking to our doctor about what the causes of it are and what we can take to help that bloating, because bloating shouldn't really be something that you're putting up with on a constant basis, right? Now, what I find is that my symptoms are really triggered by the weather. And yesterday was bright and sunny. It was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I hear you. Having gone through menopause for women who have gone through menopause, and I think that, hi Norma, glad you could join us today. And I think that menopause is really one of those big factors, right? That we don't really think about. For me, it was so far away. It was like, I think I was 50 when I started going through menopause, and these symptoms come up so gradually, right? And so menopause kind of ran into my diagnosis for COPD and everything. But remember that we are aging as well, right? And we forget that. We forget that even though we've been diagnosed with COPD, we are also aging. And an aging body does weird things, right? We lose so much elasticity. And this is, in fact, why between the ages of 40 and 60, most people will be diagnosed with COPD. It's because our lungs are naturally losing elasticity, and we can't, even if we weren't smokers, we probably would not. Hi, Alyssa. Don't worry about being late. You can always go back to see the replay after. It'll be up as soon as this is done, right? But I think that's one of those things that, we beat ourselves up about smoking and everything. And I know it was a really bad habit to have. And the kids today, they don't smoke. At least I hope that they know enough not to smoke or to vape. And so they kind of look at us and go, why'd you do this to yourself? Well, first of all, we didn't know we were doing it to ourselves. We didn't believe what the doctors said. A lot of people smoked. It wasn't like I was the only one who smoked. And that's why COPD is such a all-consuming illness, because so many of us smoked, that they believe that by 2030, which is another 10 years from now, that COPD will be the number 2 killer. Hi, Carol. Thank you for joining us today. That COPD will be the number 2 killer, surpassing heart disease and stroke. So the number 1 killer. But right now, heart and stroke is number 2, and COPD is number 3. But they believe that COPD will be the top killer for people by the year 2030. It's a starkening statistic for us, right? So we weren't the only ones that smoked. Everybody smoked. And this is becoming so much of a crisis right now. Hospitals are full. We're all in the hallways. At least, I don't know where everybody else is from, but in Ontario, Canada, we're having a terrible time. The hospitals are full. We can't find beds. We can't afford to pay doctors. We can't afford to pay nurses. We don't have any help. And if you go in the hospital, so help me God, if you go into the hospital and you don't have family to take care of you, you are screwed. So that's kind of where we are right now, right? We're hoping that medicines are helping us, and we're hoping that our medical miracle is just around the corner. For a lot of people in the States, I hear them all saying that they're going to get these Zephyr valves. And it sounds very, very good. But, it's not the do-all and end-all, because a lot of people have come back and said, that it didn't come out as well as what they thought. I think it's kind of a 60-40 thing where a lot of people are having success from it. And I think they have a long way to go on that. By the time it comes to Canada, I'm hoping that I will still be well enough to actually receive them. And my doctor said the last time I saw him in December that it was just starting to come out in Canada. They hadn't really gotten all the training yet. They hadn't really looked into it as much as so it's not available in Canada. But I know that a lot of people in the States are having it done. I agree with you, Carol, that the medical system has broken down in most countries. And one of the reasons why this has happened is because we have all these baby boomers coming into this system that is trying to slow us down, right? And there's so many of us at the top coming through the system. There's nobody now paying for it. And so it gets to be, yeah, I wish it would get here soon too, Norma. I know you're from Canada as well, and that it's really tough because we always, I was talking to somebody around December and I said, you know, were the Zephyr valves here yet? And they said, well, if they're in the States right now, they'll probably be here in 10 years, which is like, oh my God, if they're going to wait 10 years for it, I probably won't be here, right? Or I won't be well enough to get it. So remember also that there is a lot of other things that cause COPD. It's not only from smoking, but a combination of a lot of other reasons. Being a preemie means that you were born with undeveloped lungs, and it took you a little bit longer to get going. Remember that your lungs don't develop until you're 12 years old. Most of us were about 14 or 15 when we started smoking. We live in a polluted world, and oh, Alyssa, thank you. Oh, good luck to you. Alyssa's getting the Zephyr valves, and she goes back in March 27th to talk to her doctor. I hope that goes well for you. I know that a lot of people have very much success with it. Like I said, some people have not, but I think most of the people that I've talked to have very, very much success with it. And we're very, very much looking forward to it coming to Canada. So I hope that happens, you know, and I hope that our medical miracle is just around the corner. And I really think that because we are such a burden on the health system, that they have to get their butts in gear and start doing stuff for us and start coming up with medical miracles, because otherwise it's just going to be too much on the system, right? Yeah, best of luck to you, Alyssa. I hope you come back and tell us how that went and how well you're doing after, right? I was reading a story today. Now, this was on the Zephyr Valves site, and this was their feature story, right? So this woman walked out of the hospital 2 days later and went to Marineland with her kids, and I thought, oh my God, could you imagine? Like, what a difference that would make on our outlook, right? And yes, you're very right, Lissa. You need to exercise while you are waiting on them to get to you, because if we're not exercising and keeping our bodies up, then we won't be able to be candidates for these lungs, right? Or these valves in our lungs. So you can't just sit around waiting for yourself to, waiting for our miracle to come. We have to work on being ready. We have to be ready when it happens, right? And of course, if this happens and it gives us, you know, another 5 to 10 years before we have to look at alternatives, right? It's way better than getting a transplant. If you have COPD, you must stop smoking. You must exercise every day. You must have a good diet, full with lean meats and lots of fruits and vegetables. And you have to work on keeping your thoughts positive. Please look into mindfulness and meditation as a way to get yourself past these bumps that we have in the road. So today, I'm very, very short of breath. And I know from looking back at my journal that we're, you know, yesterday was bright and sunny, but today we are having, yeah, I know, Elaine, it's all because of the boomers and the, you know, the seniors and that, right? But today I'm very, very short of breath because it's kind of raining and drizzling out. And so I know enough to just calm down about that and wait for it to pass. This is Barbara Moore for Catch Your Breath 60, and I hope that you will put all of your comments in the boxes. I had one question from one lady last week, and I haven't seen her on yet, but I'm hoping that you can help her to put messages in. She's not sure how to show up here on the comments and to have her comments read. So anyways, this is Barbara Moore, and yeah, I know, Norma, I hear you. This is Catch Your Breath 60. Please have a look at my Pinterest boards and my YouTube page. Both are at Catch Your Breath 60, and I appreciate every one of your comments, and I work hard at answering all of your questions. Please feel free to email me, text me, or leave comments here anytime. We'll see you next week, and it will be March, and we'll be ready for spring.